So thank you, everybody. Appreciate everybody joining. This is the Cyber Bowl space that we host every Tuesday. Today we're going to talk about Tesla and the progress and the scaling that Tesla's about to be doing. You know, one point everybody thought that the Cybertruck was not going to happen, that the Semi was not going to happen and impossible, that the 4680 is not going to happen and it's impossible. Yet today, all three are poised to just break through and start to scale globally. The Cybertruck is now expanded to be released in Mexico. And then just yesterday, Siddhant Awasthi, the program manager for Cybertruck, said that it's going to be launched in Canada by October. Today, Dan Priestley, the executive at Tesla that's responsible for the Semi, did a presentation. And he's talking about that he's saying that the Tesla Semi was designed the few modifications required for it to be launched in Europe. And after it ramps in the US, maybe in late 2026, it's going to be ramping in Europe as well. And then, of course, we had the big news this weekend that Tesla has now built their, created their 100 millionth 4680 cell. Meanwhile, we're starting to see FSD is now signs that it's about to be released in China. There's grayed out right now in the software update in Chinese cars. You can see the FSD supervised button is grayed out. And then I think we saw some screenshots today. I don't know how real they are, that some cars might already actually have the software downloaded. We don't know anybody's actually using it there. The Robotaxi, a yellow kind of mocked up potential cyber cab was seen in the Warner Brothers lot. Could have just been a yellow herring, I call it, a red herring. Exactly. And the Cybertruck deliveries is now matched the same as all other electric vehicle pickups combined. And then, of course, we heard Larry Ellison explaining how he was interviewed recently, and he was talking about how Elon and he had a dinner with Jensen, and he convinced them to sell them as many, chips as they can. And it looks like that he succeeded, according to them. So lots of news like that. Again, it happens this weekend, and many of us just ignore it, and we just move along and think nothing's happening, especially when you see the stock not move. But sure feels like this is all heading in this direction. As we always do, let's get started with you, Jeff. What's your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, Herbert, thanks. No, I think you do a great job aggregating all of this information for everyone. So thank you. Every business that Elon enters in, there's a plan for scale, whether it's building cars in general, building rockets, you name it. Everything he does is really, if you look at Grok and it's, what they're trying to do in terms of understanding, the universe, everything that they approach, they go after with scale. These things are real. On the 4680 side, I think all these projects start. I think if you had a takeaway, one of the things you could say is like, when Tesla goes after these brand categories that are brand new to them or brand new to the industry, obviously what they try to motivate themselves with really, unbelievable schedules, and they try to go after everything. And, they've notably not met some of those schedules. If you look at the 4680 and you were to judge it, on its merits, it'd be like, okay, well, this is, way off from what was promised on battery day. But then you step back and then you look at it relative to what the rest of the world is doing, and you look at it relative to what's going on geopolitically, geographically. And then what you find out is that the company's making good decisions around what they want to do on a 5 and 10 year horizon. I go back to the joint venture with Panasonic, back in the, 2012, 2013 timeframe, and making those decisions, making the decision for Nevada, making the decisions around building out the supercharger network and basically funding that now over a decade. Now look where Tesla is in terms of they're selling supercharging to anybody that wants to drive an EV in the United States is, basically routing themselves through a supercharger network, Tesla. And they basically prevented, EV adoption in the US from collapsing because of them opening up their supercharging network. So the takeaway for me is as a leader, as a visionary, Elon and his staff, are they making the right 5 and 10-year decisions? That granularity of like, did it ship in December or did it ship this year versus I know that can be frustrating, and there's true like facts to hang on to if you're a bear. But what you kind of look at different things at different levels. You want the CEO, the board, you want them making the right decisions on a 5 to 10-year trajectory, and having the ability to develop and own a battery supply chain that can eventually get to dry battery electrode, that could massively shrink the operation and make it a true cost leading cut and paste type of thing that you can do globally next to all your factories, where it's raw materials in and then the final product coming out. That's a right move over a 5 to 10-year planning horizon. If it's semi trucks that are electric, that are more efficient, that that have the right charging network, that have the capability to reduce the cost per mile to fleet operators, and then eventually can be autonomous, that's the right 5 to 10-year decision. And whether it's this truck segment, which has invariably had these issues over the years in terms of how do these things get engineered in a way where they're efficient and they're desirable, they're lifestyle type, cars that people want to drive, and maybe even expand the segment. Again, the right 5-year decision. Did it ship the exact time they wanted? No, but they're doing the right things over a multi-year horizon. To me, that's the big takeaway from this for me.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah. So what do you guys think, Xander and Larry? Are we poised for things? I mean, I guess many of us are like, a little bit jaded a bit. Some of us are saying that because we've been waiting for so long. But it's also true that today you got the Cybertruck going global, right? It's now selling more EV than other electric vehicle car companies. You've got the 4680 now going up to scale. Yes, it's not the dry cathode, but it's still now scaling at 100 million. And if you got the semi, it's ready to be at scale now with the factory. That's what they're promising this year. So all of those things, people thought were impossible, but now they're all happening all at the same time. Do you want to go first, Larry?
Sure. Just a minor correction. The semi factory will not be ready until late next year, I think, if they build very rapidly. But the semi opportunity is just gigantic. They've been very deliberate about the semi. They've worked very hard with Pepsi. They've done a fantastic job. There was a posting today of the speech by the head of the semi, whose name I forget, but a fantastic presentation. I'm looking for between 40 and 60 cents a share earnings directly from the semi sales in 2026. I know it sounds a little way off, but believe me, it's going to be here before we look around. So I think the semi future is very, very good. I mean, it's at first they're going to look for a 50,000 unit production out of this plant in Reno. That is a huge production in semi terms. But I don't think it stops there. I think we will see a factory in China. I think we will see an expansion of Berlin to add semi production. I think we're going to see, well north of 100 to 120,000 units a year. I've written about this, and the earnings from that are going to be very considerable. But you're right. I mean, Herbert, if you look across the portfolio, never mind, the optimist that is coming, but if you look across the portfolio and you add in what's happening in FSD, by the way, I published today some information on what's happening at FSD globally, and it's very exciting what's going on. So, Yeah, I think we're ready we're very close to a takeoff, the next takeoff in the Tesla saga. So I'm very positive, very, very positive.
Are there enough, just not talking Robotaxi, just the things we talked about? I know you said semi won't be next year, but there's supposed to be the two new affordable
And
models.
semi will be next year, not this year.
Correct. Then you got the two new affordable models. There's
Yeah.
going to be next year, so everything could
Yeah.
be another year out. But
No. I think we'll see some production next year of the semi. We will certainly see some production of the Robotaxi next year. But I think it's all incremental.
mhm.
And we will see some revenue recognition from FSD next year for sure. Some significant revenue recognition.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is that I had one of the people reply to a post that I did on X, and he said, please take a look at the analyst, these institution analysts, and what their price target was for Tesla stock in January to December of 2019, and see what they were saying at the time. And I'm still working on it, but basically, adjusted the 15-to-1 stock splits. Yeah. They were saying, the low one, of course, our good friend Gordon Johnson, $5.87 to $16, $19. I've got like RBC, Wedbush, Barclays, Morgan Stanley's $15, $22. This is a year after, they say, January to December 2019 to January to December of 2020. And, in 2019, Tesla stock was at $21 in January. It fell to $12 in May, and it went up to $23 in 2019. Flat.
But to be fair, like the growth rate was tremendous. So like they were under, but also the bulls were over, because the growth rate currently is something that we need to start seeing accelerate, whether it's in EPS or in volume of cars.
You're exactly right, Xander. I mean, you're exactly right. The bulls were far too premature, and the analysts were far too pessimistic. And I think that about gets it. I mean, I would put myself as having been far too premature, and there are a couple of things that you have to factor in. The one was the pandemic. The pandemic had an profound impact on Tesla and on, I would say, on Elon. And we haven't yet got back to normal. That's one thing. The other is, FSD has taken a lot longer than we anticipated. And we have to understand that Elon has placed a huge bet on FSD. I think he's right, but he could still prove to be wrong. But that bet on FSD has changed changed not only the dynamic, but also the actual rate of growth of Tesla, and the launch of Tesla's next phase. So these are very important factors that answer, why we were premature, and also why the analysts got it wrong. And then, of course, there's some factors that we never considered, and one factor was Optimus. We never thought about Optimus. We didn't have it in our sights. So all of those things, combine to A, get us all wrong, and B, reset the expectations. And the expectations could still be wrong, but I think they're reasonable. That's what I would think.
Yeah. Just to finish off the research here. So the January 2019 to December 2019, we've got a list of about 20 different institutional analysts. They range from $5.87 to $33. And the stock price was from $21, it fell to $12, it went up to $23 for 2019. But 2020, the stock went up to $34, and by the end of 2020, it went up to $275. Of course, we know it's a 10x from what they were talking about. And that's the point, isn't it? Like, these guys will take whatever the current price is and they'll add 50% to it, and that's their bull case, when we are expecting a massive kind of change in the industry. And that just feels like maybe that's where we're at today, because you've got the semi, you got the 4680s, you got the Cybertrucks, and you got the two more affordable vehicle models. This is like, even if the autonomy doesn't happen for a couple of years still, it still feels like that the company's about to ramp up again. Go ahead, Jeff. Yep.
Yeah, I was going to just thread a few of these themes together. First off, when you're going after these massive projects that no one in the world has ever done before, your amount of schedule variation is going to be directly proportional to the amount of risk you're taking and how revolutionary the project would be upon delivery. So if you think about your amount of schedule, if you're going after something that is kind of like been done before and it's relatively safe and you're doing some tweaks to it, you should be fairly accurate in the schedule, and you should hold yourself to a higher standard if you miss. But if you're trying to figure out how to be geography agnostic and have a true AI end-to-end system for self-driving at a cost structure that's a fraction of what everyone else is doing, that's truly scalable into the many tens if not hundreds of millions of products and eventual devices, well, then the variation on that could be much greater. And I think that's important information for people that that are making decisions about the name or what they do, is you understand the type of projects they're going after. That valuing the Tesla back in the 2019 timeframe versus and what they were doing, what they were building, and the kind of growth they were trying to do in building and shipping, bending metal and shipping cars, to the Tesla of today is a much more difficult thing. Tesla is an extremely difficult company to evaluate. It is extremely difficult. And I know a lot of people that are trying to simplify it and open up, let's open up the Bloomberg terminal and what do they say for earnings? And, uh, this could be an entire show. But I think the takeaway is the type of businesses that Tesla is entering and going after are inherently going to have higher variation in terms of their execution. And if they work, I mean, they're huge, they're gigantic. But when they work and when that gets off the ground, I think you're going to be dealing with some variation in that. And then the other question is, how do you value the company? Like, how do you do it? And I think there's a way to do it with like a 3-month or 6-month or 9-month or 12-month time horizon. I think there's a set of knowns and a set of unknowns. But boy, as you get out even a year, there are some variables in there that could swing things wildly, in one direction or another. So I just think it's a very unique company and unique case. And I almost think you need some sort of like low, medium, high model where you kind of transparently expose what's involved, what are the risks, what are the things that actually come through in each model and what things don't. And I know some of these companies are doing it to some level, but a lot of these models are like they're missing like the entire things that aren't included. But I think that would be the only approach. But just having like a conventional auto analyst, do this, I think they're going to be chasing. They're going to be chasing on the upside. They're going to be chasing on the downside. And I'd be really interested to see what your data comes out with, Herbert, in terms of the accuracy of some of these predictions.
Sorry, Chris, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just had a brief question for Larry here. I believe it was Larry that mentioned a projected, or in his estimate, a 40 to 60 EPS increase by 2026, and I believe you associated that directly with the semi. What volumes were you thinking based on that? And do you believe that current 4680 production and factory capabilities allow that by 2026?
Yeah, well, firstly, I'm not sure that 4680 batteries are required for the semi, because the semi units that are out there don't use 4680s. So that there will be sufficient batteries, there's absolutely no doubt at all. And then I am looking at that level of earnings being reached when the factory gets to full production. So I'm calculating it based upon 50,000 units, a production run rate of 50,000 units will generate that level of earnings, around that level of earnings. So one of the beauties of Tesla's balance sheet is that every additional dollar revenue, its margin falls almost straight to the bottom line.
But they they calculate their balance sheets and everything based on deliveries, right? That's when they're calculated.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we lost the Omar. So a question I wanted to ask you guys then is, which of these three is the thing that you're most excited about, or you think will have the most impact to Tesla in the near term, right? So the first one is, we just talked about it, Cybertruck, semi coming out and looking like that they're progressing. The other one is this zero down Model 3, Model Y long range, and combine that with the interest rate cuts that might happen tomorrow, right? 50%. We're recording this on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Fed's going to come out. Some people think it's a 65% chance it's going to be a 50% basis cut, or a 25% basis cut.
Point.
What?
50 point, 25 point.
Yeah.
9%.
Okay. And then the third thing would be, FSD, right? They're starting to roll out just small waves of the 12.5, 0.13, but I'm hearing kind of mixed response. Some people are thinking it's amazing, and some people are saying it's regression. But then we spotted this Robotaxi thing that people think it's it's a Robotaxi, and Warner Brothers. Which one of those is going to have the greatest impact?
Really. So the greatest impact is going to be the Fed rate, right? That is a major shift in policy. So the federal fund rate will, if 60% is priced in that it's going to be a 50-point cut, then you won't see much of a reaction. You'll see a reaction, but it won't be like some crazy sell-off or some large buy, large event. So for Tesla specifically, you're seeing a nice hold here at 235, waiting for Wednesday. If it's 50 and then I think it's going to be a nice that's like the permission to start investing, putting some dollars into the 1010 event. If it's something crazy like a 75, that is not good, and the markets will react. And if it's 25, then some of the money can actually come out because the markets is thinking that it's going to be 50. So if you think like long term and you think far out, the way that I think about it, and I could be wrong about this stuff, but the DCF models, discounted cash flows out X number of years, they're pricing that discount rate. And so, that's why there's some activity and things are continue to go up. And we're at basically, all-time highs here for this event. There's some statistics that we should know that could impact the markets, which is September based on certain conditions that we're in. Over the last 20 times, September has been a 0 for 20 month where the markets, the broad markets, have finished higher than they started. So that's not good statistics. But by the end of the year, the statistics say that with the easing cycle occurring, you will have 100% probability, obviously a grain of salt there, but statistically speaking, 20 out of 20 or whatever the number is, 100% of the time, the end of the year is positive. So those are some stats that I'm looking at, but it's really important. Just there's going to be a lot of volatility tomorrow around the event, which is at 2 p.m. Eastern, and then 2:30 is Jay Powell speech.
Okay, and Jeff and Larry, do you guys agree with that? If there's a 50% basis point cut on Wednesday, tomorrow, do you guys think that that's going to impact Tesla stock?
Undoubtedly. I mean, the chance of a 50%, a 50 basis point drop
Sorry,
in the
it's
interest
my
rate,
problem.
I think,
My fault. Yeah, 50 basis points. Sorry, guys.
are quite low. I rank it as close to 0. I would be the first to admit I'm wrong and be very surprised, but I think it's low. It will definitely have an impact on Tesla stock. It'll have an impact on the entire market. The problem is I'm not sure entirely what direction the whole market will react, because there's going to be some bouncing around. I mean, in a way, it's kind of, it'll be a shock to the system. Who knows how to react? But I doubt it'll happen. Jeff?
Yeah, Jeff. He's not there. There he is.
Sorry. Yeah. I don't know how you can. Tesla will respond favorably to rate cuts. The question is what's baked in and what isn't. I don't know how the hell we'd know that. I mean, the percentages on this, the size of this rate cut change every couple of days. So, I mean, I think it's really hard to say. I'm not the person to go to for daily predictions on the stock. I'm more of looking at it in terms of like a Tesla now. The way I think of it is, instead of being in a rate hiking regime, we're in a rate cutting regime. That's good for selling cars, and that'll be good for Tesla. Right now, the aggressive, we're basically 300 basis points above inflation on the Fed funds rate. And what that is causing Tesla to do in their unit economics is absorb that and absorb some of that between MSRP and net ASP. And it's coming out of Tesla financials, because it's one of the big blockers to people buying cars is how much they got to pay to get money, or can they even get money? Right now, 1 in 5 people can't get money to buy a car. They're being rejected. So the rate thing is a bigger deal than some people have made it out to be. I know this turned into a math equation for some. Well, the payment only went up by this much or this much. And now, being at 5.5% and knowing that the average new car is between 8 and 9%, and then the average used car is around 14%. And yes, a lot of these places have financing deals, but there's no free lunch. Somebody's paying for that. In this case, Tesla is paying for that, and they're taking a pretty aggressive, hit to the financials. So these financing deals are great to get people into the door and to get over this issue of what our inflation and what the Fed has done. But it's going to impact Tesla financials. The nice thing about it is, as the rates come down, they can just pull it out, and it's wind at their backs. But in the near term, it's definitely a hit.
And then combine that with this 0 down incentive for North America. If you're wanting to buy a Model 3, Model Y long range and performance in the US, 0 down starting September 12th, right? Last week. And then the 1.99% APR is still available all the way till the end of this month. That's pretty desirable, but why the long range and performance? So that means it's just the more expensive cars when it's actually the cheaper car that's going to at zero down might have more impact to that. What are they doing? Why are they doing a zero down plus the 1.99% the final 2 weeks of the quarter?
I would assume they're trying to just push those units out. No?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. End of quarter push.
I've seen some interesting numbers in terms of sales projections already. It's hard to tell. I think that Tesla are going to surprise somewhat to the upside, but not as high as some of the folks would have. I know China was doing extremely well, but China's going through a little bit of change just right now. I mean, there may be some disturbance in the ether there going on just and this could affect the last weeks of sales. So I don't know. I'm a little bit less optimistic about this quarter than some.
Yeah, AJ is saying that because of the zero down, he's thinking that this quarter, he said, I estimate that a new all-time high quarterly delivery record is nearly guaranteed now. That's his thinking.
Yeah, it's possible, particularly if China holds the line, but there are things happening in China that are not that positive. But I'm going to have to drop right now, guys, but great being on with you all.
Thank you so much, Larry. Appreciate you very much.
Larry.
Yeah. Okay, so we covered quite a bit. The interest rates is you guys think is the most potential impact that's going to happen Wednesday. You got this incentives that Tesla is rolling out. According to what we're seeing in a weekly basis, the sales is holding quite well in China, which is surprising to many of us. And then we're starting to see these little signs, like we just got this grayed out button for the FSD supervised in China for Chinese cars, still grayed out. And then I think today some people are saying that they saw that it wasn't grayed out anymore, at least that software is being uploaded, but not necessarily people able to use it. This is just, I guess, one of those little tiny hints that it might be rolling out. I think we can probably just stick with the formal forecast, which is sometime in the first quarter of 2025, depending on FSD regulatory approval. That's when we should expect it to happen there. But more and more of these rumors are coming out for FSD. Then you got this car, this yellow car. Who here was very excited to see that? Yeah, Jeff, you had some thoughts on what you thought that was, right?
Yeah, I mean, first off, this stuff in China. I mean, they said that they're going to launch FSD supervised in China in the first half of next year. So, I mean, it sounds like they're meaningfully stepping closer to that. So that's what we want to see. It's just, you want more sources of revenue. You want more geographies producing revenue, especially software-based revenue. And that's what we want to see. So that's good. And Europe is progressing as well. So that's great for Tesla. In terms of the vehicle spotted in Warner Brothers Studios, we don't know what that was, but it did strike me, that Tesla did a lot, and we did this in the video that we did. Herbert talked a little bit about it, but when they were doing the Model 3 and they were trying to disguise the Model 3, there was just some small fabric coverings over the front fascia, and then there was some small coverings over the rear lights. But you see what they did to this vehicle. This thing was clearly hand painted. They even painted different lines around the windows, and they did something with the wheels, they disguised something on the wheels. They added this gigantic box in the back, and I have a theory that it's because the real product is going to be built in an unboxed manner. So when they actually reveal the product, they're going to quote unquote unbox it and pull that box out of the back. But my key takeaway is the more effort that they put into disguising the product, the more compelling the underlying product may be. And they put a lot of effort into disguising this product. So we'll see. For all the naysayers, people are like, well, what are they doing this? If they got FSD, why do they need to get data? Of course, if you're going to have a product reveal, you want to get everything right. You even want to know what's going on from an RF perspective in that area, and to make sure that everything's functioning, everything's working properly. What data they're gathering, I don't know, but you want it to be perfect. You're doing a reveal for, the world to see your new offering. So, in short, I think that product was heavily disguised, and in my opinion, that means what's underlying could be, fairly compelling. We'll see. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Everybody could have different opinions on that. And excuse me, the fact that Tesla is taking data makes a lot of sense to me from doing other product launches before.
Xander, you put a thumbs down. You don't think I don't think it's a Cybertruck, Cybercab Robotaxi camouflaged at all. I think it could be the more affordable vehicle. Why did you put a thumbs down?
I don't think it's either of those.
Okay.
I find it like, if you're on a Warner Brothers lot, maybe it's some other vehicle, something, that's some cartoony thing. I mean, that thing is, if it's heavily disguised, I mean, they did a great job, but I just, I have the patience to not speculate on what that is, and the different wheel sizes. That didn't make sense, but maybe.
You're
I don't
saying I
know.
don't have any patience?
No. Everyone that's that's like going crazy about, like, has anyone confirmed? That's all we get? We got one picture. We got one picture.
This is the guy that wants to tell you why the stock's moving up 14 pennies in a day, and it's going to be down 14 pennies the next day.
Yeah, that's
and then
right.
we see this thing driving around Warner Brothers studio.
Did we?
And I'm trying to, and I'm trying to describe what it may be, and it's like, well, I have more patience. I don't need to have that conversation.
Well, hold on, Jeff. So that's what I'm asking. Do we have anything more than one picture? You said you saw it driving around. Was there a video? I didn't see the video.
No, I said we have a picture.
Oh, we have one picture. Got it. Okay. No problem.
I
You're
posted
right.
it to the top of the chat with my assumption here with the two images. I would love for that to be true, the one on the left. I personally believe that they purposefully made this car look that shitty. And I'm hoping there is really something incredible behind it. I wouldn't understand why they'd be running in my head, this has to be the Robotaxi. And I'm guessing there's some type of agreement where it's going to be running around the Warner Brothers Studios testing. I'm guessing that's what it is. But my God, I'm so excited.
If they're just testing the software, I agree with you, by the way. I'm very excited too. But if they're just testing the software, which is what they're doing, is data acquisition, why can't they just chuck some cameras on a computer in a size appropriate car and then have some fun by making it look like Big Bird or the Homer Mobile? Like, why aren't they doing that? Because why would you risk putting, getting exposure to the unveil?
Well, remember how they were doing there was, I remember, I don't know, it was like a month or two ago, like when we saw
Right.
that 3 Series with the B pillar, and the camera, or that little strange black box that was at the top. If you look at this image of that yellow one, it looks like this is more like the actual car with that, it seems to resemble some of that stuff. So I'm not sure exactly what it is, but clearly they have to run it around the system, or the lots to make sure it works. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, we don't have to be sure. We're just here to speculate on what it could be. I think everybody's excited. Everybody wants to get to the 1010 event. It's a big thing for the direction of the company, and really the direction of, travel and how people drive or will be driven in vehicles, hopefully. So we'll see. And what's interesting to me is like, what's the media going to do with it? I've already seen the media over the last couple of months say, well, there will be no Robotaxi, for people to use this year. I'm like, okay, well, Tesla never said there was a Robotaxi available to use this year. And it's kind of like they're trying to like drum up something that doesn't really exist. Like Tesla's publicly said they're building this, this unboxed vehicle at the second half of the following year. They're going to build some interim, cheaper vehicles prior to that. Yeah, and I think some of the real questions in the debates, and we have these debates all the time, are, are they going to start a supervised network prior and work out the bugs in the Tesla network? I think that's one question that they could answer, and they could also answer the question around, what does the business look like for this? What are the unit economics? How does Tesla make money exactly in this relationship? What does a driver get? What does Tesla get? It's like, so I think there's some questions that they could answer that I think could be very interesting. So, and the other thing is, I like the fact that the event actually moved. You never like to see a schedule change, but these teams were probably running hard towards 8.8, and we may never know the real reason for the move of, you have to take Tesla at face value of why they moved the event, but there could have been other things going on. I just like the fact that they've had another 60 days to let this thing cook and to be really good. And maybe there's some additional things that they'll be able to show on 10.10 that wouldn't have been available. I think Elon said that wouldn't have been available on 8.8. So I'm excited about that too.
Does anyone know how large this Warner Brothers lot is? Because in my head, I was thinking about this being like, it's private. Therefore, maybe they don't have to obey by the same regulations that California puts on it, to pass through I can't remember the name of the agency that deals with California. Is it? No, that's federal. But yeah, I was wondering maybe that's the reason why they did it at Warner Brothers. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's 110 acres is 10 back lots sprawled over 110 acres.
So it could be a proof of concept, like to show that it's actually functioning in a real life environment without actually having to go through regulatory approval, maybe. I'm not sure.
Most likely.
The lot does have several full-size streets, and it'd be the perfect place to host the event where, it's not on a public road, but it simulates that sort of experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, well, spotted this yellow cyber Robotaxi. That's, we were talking about this earlier, like what's the likelihood that there's going to be leaks? And, we didn't really, I think Tesla's been very good about, making sure that there isn't any leaks. So something like this, is this just because they didn't expect the Warner Brother employee to take a photo? Was it maybe like what I'm calling a red herring, but actually it's a yellow herring? Throw you off track. People saw that photo that in Walter Isaacson's book, and that's the thing that we're seeing everywhere. This is what this Cybercab's going to look like. Why the hell would Tesla show you what the Cybercab is going to look like? That was one of the designs that they threw away and said, we're not going to do this. We're evaluating all sorts of things, 3-wheeled, scissor doors. And yet people think that that's what's going to be like. I just think it's going to be like you're saying, Chris. It's like something that's going to look from the future. It's going to not look like a car necessarily. It's going to be optimized for the experience, not for driving, which is what cars are designed for today. You have a front, you have a back, you have these, seats that are facing forward. You have this engine area. I just don't necessarily think that you're limiting yourself if you think that that's what the Cybercab could be.
I just think it's so interesting because it's clearly a troll like thing. It's yellow. It like stands out like a bright sore thumb. It's got that super awkward,
exactly
straight line back. They are clearly something's hiding under that thing.
Yeah, Honda Civic.
So 10.10 is here. It's 10 days, 20 days, 23 days away from October 10th. And I think many of us are already buying our tickets to fly there, but we don't know if we're going to get tickets to get in. And then, according to Alexandra, if you look at the investor relations guy, Travis Axelrod, the way he tweeted something out, it made it sound like there's going to be a very tight event. There won't be necessarily a lot of people invited. Just, I can't remember exact words that he used. I just can't imagine that that's the case, that they're going to limit who gets in and see this. I mean, why? What would be the benefit of going to this massive location rather than just a normal stage that they do at Giga Texas, and yet limit it to just a small group of people?
They want to give everyone rides, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe that if they want to give as many audience members rides, just like when they gave the Cybertruck rides, right? You can only do a small number of people, more intimate. I just can't believe that that's the case. This is the coming out party for Tesla. This is a whole new book. They're expecting something big here. That's why I'm glad it's not just a Giga Texas. It needs to be some other location. So that would be interesting.
But it's also kind of like what they did in Vegas, like when they opened it up. It's essentially their form of marketing, let everybody basically ride on it. It's like, great. And then at Warner Brothers, I'm assuming any visitors that go to the Warner Brothers lot, I'm guessing, would then be able to utilize this and see it firsthand. I don't know.
Hey,
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.